10 years ago, my life was a hot mess. And I'm not talking about the kind that you can scoop out of a litter box. I'm talking about an overflowing landfill with backhoes and those seagulls that can never find their way to a beautiful beach somewhere. And it was then that I discovered the difference between faith and hope. And it was my cell phone, believe it or not, that helped me understand that difference. This device has been both the bane of my existence and also the savior of my sanity. I left a very abusive marriage in the worst way possible because I had no plan. I had no children, I had no job prospects, and for the first time since my freshman year in college, I was living with people that I didn't really know. There's a television show called The Worst Roommate Ever. It's pretty self-explanatory. Well, I managed to transport myself back to season 2 into every single episode. I'd been a photographer's assistant in the film industry, and when I divorced the photographer, I realized that I'd let my teaching license expire. And despite having 20 years of experience in the classroom as well as a master's degree from a prestigious university, with my twisted mindset, I didn't feel like I had any discernible skills to offer outside of a film set or a school. But life is funny that way, isn't it? The universe had other plans. It was a charter school of misfit toys that took me in. I was hired as a teaching fellow, which sounds very honorific, but it simply meant that they were going to put me anywhere they needed on any given day. You see, the conditions and the reputation of this school were so bad that we couldn't get substitute teachers to work there, and the ones that came usually left by lunchtime. But my first assignment was to fill in for the science teacher position because we hadn't hired anybody, and I did this for the first 2 months of school. And by the end of the first month, it became apparent that I was invisible to the entire 8th grade. Now, I've worked with at-risk students in an alternative education since 1990, so I've been cussed out in 4 different states for a very long time, but being ignored is a completely new, low level of contempt. My complaints were seen as weakness and failure by the administration. I would often have hour-long meetings with the dean, and him standing over me at the end, screaming at me, and me melting into tears. This school really did me in, and I didn't understand what was happening to me because I'd never seen it before. And it was during this time that I really had to lean heavily on my family and lifelong friends. Most notably in this instance, my college roommate, who herself was a 30-year veteran of teaching, and assured me that I was indeed living in Bizarro World. And if Bizarro World had a mode of transportation, it would be a train ride through hell. And I signed up to be the conductor. Over the course of the next couple of months, my life continued to spiral out of control in a series of most unfortunate events. For the first 3 weeks of school, my ankles and my feet swelled to the size of footballs mysteriously, and I had to wear flip-flops. The school went roller skating. Now, I've got to pause for the cause here because I grew up in the 70s, y'all, and I can roll. But not with 150 kids underneath the age of 13. Let's just say I went down hard, and with the disco music blaring and the mirror ball lights glaring, the kids kept skating into me because remember, I'm invisible. About a month later, I was involved in a horrific one-car accident, head-on collision, after school one day. Landed upside down in my van, suspended by my seatbelt. unbuckled myself, kicked the window out, crawled to the other side of the road over broken glass, and waited for the paramedics to arrive. And unlike the roller skating rink incident in which I had several ribs broken, this time I escaped with hardly a scratch. And as you can imagine, during this time, I had a very tortured relationship with social media. It was so hard for me to look at beautiful people doing wonderful things when my life was literally a wreck. And that's a difference between faith and hope. Faith is complete confidence or trust in something or someone. But hope is merely an expectation or a desire for something that may or may not come true. Software algorithms, software developers, their job is to keep you on their platform as long as possible. And it's during this time when you feel like you're on a dopamine treadmill and you're waiting for more followers and you're wishing for more likes and you just can't seem to put your phone down. Social media and smartphones aren't inherently bad, but it's how we intentionally use them that makes all the difference in the world. They can lead to feelings of isolation and inadequacy when they're not intentionally used, but they also have the power to generate loving and beautiful connections. I guess my fear in all of this, my FOMO, my fear that everyone's missing out on, are those small things that bring us together as human beings, that human bond. A small smile to a stranger, actually making eye contact with somebody during a conversation, or in my case, picking up the phone and calling to check in instead of clicking like. I've been able to move forward with the help of these family members and lifelong friends. They always pick up or return my calls. They leave encouraging voicemails and send inspirational quotes. But most of all, they let me know that I'm not alone. In fact, I have been able to take action to improve my life with all of the help and the faith that people have put into me. I'm still a teacher, but this time it's music, and so I don't have any discipline problems or year-end tests, and I'm teaching music, which is something that I'm passionate about. I live in a beautiful townhome with the help of a very dear friend. I'm still working in the movies as a set teacher for actors underneath the age of 18, and perhaps, just maybe, you're seeing the birth of a keynote speaker. Every time you use your device, just remember that it has the power to create beautiful and life-saving connections. Let's use technology to bridge gaps, create community, and most of all, restore faith in ourselves and one another. It was through my genuine connections in my community that I was able to find the strength to leave that hot mess landfill. And unlike the seagulls, I found faith in myself to fly to that beautiful beach. Thank you.